Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, welcome, welcome. It's incredibly exciting. This is episode 43 of Let's Kung Fu. Yes, you may be wondering, why in God's name do I care that this is episode 43? That isn't a round number, it's not divisible by 5, it's not anything cool like that, but it is very, very special because this is our 1 year anniversary. I started doing Let's Kung Fu a year ago, more or less today. Not totally exactly, but, basically. So we're going to stick with that. It totally counts. Not a whole lot of exciting anything going on other than a super great interview we've got tonight. And, again, happy birthday, Let's Kung Fu. You've been around an entire year. Tonight, we are going to be talking to a really hardworking and amazing guy from the community. You've almost certainly seen his videos. We are going to be talking to the one and only Chris ChanmanV Chan. You may notice that my hair color and my clothes are about to change. This is because I talked to him over the weekend on Saturday. So let's jump right on into that. So you are, of course, the infamous ChanmanV. I'm gonna start off. I'm gonna start off with the obvious question: is why in the world is it ChanmanV?
ChanmanV, yeah. So I guess the easiest way to sum it up is I used to be a pretty serious Warcraft 2 player back in the day on Cali, and at the time there was another Chanman that kind of preceded me, and it's kind of similar to the regard to like Chanman X in StarCraft, but basically there was another Chanman that started off, and then they kind of dropped off. So I was kind of like the Chanman, but there were a bunch of other ones too, and I was just tired of getting it confused. So I ended up putting the V at the end of it to kind of. It actually is meant to be 5, but I never go by Chanman 5. I always just go by ChanmanV. So that's kind of the story behind the name.
It's the important part.
Yeah.
So what got you into like esports as a thing?
Oh, so esports as a thing, that's a good question. It was I'm trying to think exactly when it happened. I think there was this time where I was playing. So I kind of got back. I got back into StarCraft 2 after the whole Warcraft 2 and just playing StarCraft proper. I took a long break from RTS. It was like a long break, like 8 years or something from RTS. And so I came back, decided to play StarCraft 2, and kind of went through that noob phase, where you're just like terrible and playing with friends for months. But then I came across coaching, and the whole GhostedCoaching.com. And so, I was looking at some of the pros like, In Control and Machine and those guys, and kind of realized that there was a little bit of a scene that had to do with pro gaming. And I think from then on there was MLGs happening, or just happened to be going on at the same time. So I ended up watching like one of the MLG events. I can't remember which one it was. It was either Raleigh or I think it was Raleigh. Back in 2010, I think it was. And it was back before any of the Koreans were there, and maybe even before any of the Europeans went. But yeah, so I ended up watching MLG. I was pretty much hooked like the minute I watched it, because there's something about me that really loves high level play of anything, whether it's sports or esports or any music. But there's something that I'm very enamored by, when seeing like the highest level of. And, I was just basically captivated instantly, and, pretty much haven't looked back since.
So, excluding StarCraft and StarCraft 2, because they're kind of obvious, what's your favorite video game?
Right now?
Ever?
Oh, shoot, ever. I mean, ever. Warcraft 2 is obviously always going to have a place in my heart, just because it was the one game where I felt like it was the one game where I really had that kind of OCD feeling, where it's just like, I want to learn every single map and beat everybody at every single map, in every single starting position, in every single, like that sort of thinking. And and I did. I mean, that's I spent hours and hours like mastering every single map, every single starting position, and it's crazy. It was even like trying to like come up with combos and like the combo scenarios where there's 8 starting positions and trying to figure out like what the most efficient things to do. And so that there's always a special place in my heart for Warcraft 2. But besides that, God, it's just like so many things. There's not any that are just like really really stand out, outside of RTS games. I mean, I have a place for MMOs. I mean, I played WoW for a long time when it, kind of the early stages. But for me, I always get to a point with a game where it's just like I feel like I've experienced all of it, so I kind of lose interest pretty quickly after that, and I kind of move on to the next game, and I kind of give every game kind of a fair shake. So that's why I have a lot of games. But MMOs I've always loved. So I played WoW and EverQuest and Ultima and Dark Age of Camelot and all those games too. So I think MMOs are probably my next kind of favorite type of games. But I still love shooters. I still love sports games. I mean, I love I'm a gamer. I love every game. So
So
how's that for dodging a question?
yeah, no, that's excellent. I mean, you're right. It's you know, like some folks can just like instantly narrow down on one thing, and some folks just kind of go, but I love it all, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I'm not a one game person for sure. I'm definitely I definitely like a whole gambit of games. I mean, I love mobile games. Like I'm playing Candy Crush here, like every day here. I'm just and that's as simple. It's probably one of the simplest games you can get at right now. So yeah, there's no games that I just don't play.
so what made you decide to start doing a show?
So Pro Corner, my first show, the kind of genesis of Pro Corner was um, kind of the next step from when I was streaming all my coaching sessions with Machine and In Control and whoever I was taking coaching from at the time. Like I think I took some lessons from Destiny and Bitter, and so it was just a whole gambit of people because I was just really, I'm very enamored by the whole 12 weeks and just wanting to get coaching and get better at the game. And it was just like a really fun time for me. And so I just streamed my lessons just because I wanted folks that couldn't afford coaching to kind of maybe get some tips and maybe pull some things for themselves off of my lessons. And I remember one of my viewers mentioned one night that have you thought about just making a show out of it, since there was really nothing in the space at the time, because Bitter had kind of moved on from 12 weeks to work at ESL, and Sean with the dailies wasn't quite in the same space. So I was just kind of talking with him, and maybe another group of guys too that have just been longtime viewers. At the time when I was having 10, 15 viewers at the time watching my lessons. Maybe it got up to 50 sometimes with whoever was coaching me. But I talked to them, and I decided that it was worth just at least evaluating it over the weekend, and kind of thinking through, okay, what does it take? Like, what kind of software would I need? What kind of equipment would I need? And would it be fun? That sort of thing, and kind of what format would be. And after that weekend, I kind of went through it and decided that, hey, why not? Let's just try it. It definitely doesn't hurt. Let's just kind of formalize it and kind of have it just be a kind of a work in progress. Not just have to plan it to be just all this marketing and all this great stuff like right off the bat, because I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, this is like the first thing I've ever done, in esports. So that's kind of what I did. I just kind of did episode 1 with a couple of my coaches at the time, which was Machine and Titan, and they came on, kind of had this Zerg collaboration or just Zerg panel type of show where we just talked about Zerg strategies and walked through some games. And yeah, that was the beginning of it, and really haven't looked back since. It's just been show after show after that.
I was gonna say, speaking of which, you're doing I think like 4 different shows right now.
Yeah, 4 different shows.
The two-part question: A, why are you doing 4 shows? And B, how in the world do you find the energy and the time to do 4 different shows?
So why am I doing 4 different shows? So the simple answer is really that I have a lot of different interests in esports, and one of my main priorities or main reasons for doing these shows in general um, has always been for trying to better the community or the industry in some way. And in the shows, if you kind of look at the shows, they they kind of focus on a particular segment of esports or of the StarCraft 2 community or whatnot. And so, like with Pro Corner, Pro Corner was always meant to be about the players. Wasn't so much, kind of started off being a little bit more the tips, type of thing, where the viewers could learn how to become a better gamer, kind of like Sean. But in the end, it became more about really spotlighting the players, and maybe bringing some attention to players that don't have the marketing channels. It's kind of a weird thing with Pro Corner. It's like there's some players that come on that are super popular, and obviously I have more to gain than they do for coming on the show. And then there's some players that don't have any kind of notoriety, and they have much more. They have a lot to gain, right, from coming on my show, and so my whole thing was really always to put the player center of the show, and whether it was like where somebody's like super popular, having them kind of talk to you guys about strategy and explaining tips. This is back when they didn't commentate as much too, right? So it was a bigger thing back a year ago. Just kind of want to put them in the center of focus. Wednesday Night Sprite's all about the arcade, right? Arcade doesn't get. I mean, there's probably no other projects right now that have to do with the arcade, and so I want to bring attention to the arcade and more of the social side of StarCraft. And then Climbing the Ladder, obviously, just all about the industry side of it, the business side of it, and lots of segments just even within the business side. And then the last one, Unfiltered, my newest one, is really again just trying to cover even more subjects, kind of fill in the gaps where I haven't filled in with the other three shows, which is everything, talking about streamers, talking about how to build a streaming rig, and just anything and everything. Obviously with Destiny, who can be a controversial figure, but I'm trying to bring the good out in Steven, or trying to isolate the good out in Steven. No, but yeah, so that's kind of the reason why I have so many shows. It's just because I just feel like each show has a specific focus, and I don't want to cross, or get those shows kind of muddy by losing that focus when I have so many interests. So unfortunately, I have to be separate entities that way. And the second question, remind me what the second question was again.
How do you find the energy to do them all?
Oh, find the energy. Yeah, that's a good question. It's honestly it's really crazy. Because I have a full-time job that that's really a huge part of my life too, and obviously a family that's most important to me. So yeah, juggling. It's been definitely a crazy kind of juggling project that I do every single week, and that's the only thing I can say about it. I mean, it's just. You just kind of push yourself, and you'll be surprised what you can do, and that's pretty much kind of the state I've been in for the last almost a year now. Just like really, really pushing myself. Ever since Climbing the Ladder started, when I had two shows, it's really just been push, and see what I can do, and my limits just seem to kind of increase as to it's really efficiency level. It's like if you can be as efficient as possible, then you can achieve even more. And that's what it's been about. And yeah, I'm sure you've talked to Sean a little bit about it too. Sean's like similar in that regard. Just work yourself, work your ass to death, and then you can kind of see where your limits are. And haven't reached that limit yet, or else I'd be doing less shows.
So, out of your 4 billion different shows, which one is the most fun? Like, which one do you just get super excited about?
Super excited about? Well, I mean, it kind of depends. Just really sometimes it just depends on the guest whether I get like super excited or just what kind of episode I'm doing. I think generally speaking, Wednesday Night Sprites is really fun just because we just play games, just a bunch of friends playing games, and then we pull on some friends from the community too, and we're just playing like these great kind of party games all the time, and trying to bring some, at the same time trying to be productive by bringing attention to the arcade. So there's nothing to really be boring. There's nothing boring about that, right? But when it comes to like climbing the ladder, pro corner, sometimes it's just the guest. Some guests are going to be guests that I've been, kind of been goals of mine to have on the show, and obviously those are just like very very super fun. Some guests are just favorites of mine, so that's going to be fun. But I admit there are definitely some shows that are not as fun, but I feel like are still necessary. Episodes that are very necessary to do, and so I still do them. But yeah, so in general, I think just from a consistent standpoint, I think Wednesday Night Sprites is, I can't remember an episode that's not fun, honestly. There might have been one episode where I was just like super tired, but it has nothing to do with it being fun or not. My speaker's making funny noises. Sorry. But yeah, so I think Wednesday Night Sprites, generally speaking.
Who's been your favorite guest?
Favorite guest on any of the shows?
Sure.
Favorite guest. Wow, that's a hard one. Favorite guest. So okay, so I hate to have to ask you questions on it, but it's so favorite guest leading into the show or the favorite guest like aftermath of the show, like how the show went.
Let's go with how the show went.
Okay, how the show went. Okay. I think one of my favorite shows, it'd have to be probably the Destiny show, or the CTL show where we talked about Own 3D, where Husky hopped on too. So it was Destiny, Husky, and Damaga, and we were just talking about the whole Own 3D. I think that show, going into the show, I knew it was going to be a compelling show, and it was really great. And it was actually not a scheduled show. It was the last second kind of. I just threw it together as more of a one-off, and going into it, it wasn't necessarily going to be one of my favorite. But I think afterwards, just the way it was received, and just everything that we talked about, and just kind of how I hosted that episode, I think went really well. So that ended up being definitely one of my favorites. One of the TLO shows on Pro Corner. TLO is just, I just think so similar to Dario in a lot of regards. So like having him on the show is just kind of like, it's kind of like butter. Honestly, it's not even work. It's one of those shows where it's literally not work at all. Like it's just organic, natural conversation, and it just ends up laying out as almost like a formatted show. That's when it's like really good when you're not even thinking about things. Yeah, so those. Let me think. Having the day 19 was a big deal for me, because it was actually it was a goal of mine. Like when I first started everything to have Sean and the team too. At a certain point, the team was added to it, but Sean was one of the big things of having him on one of my shows. So that was really cool. But that's about the only ones I can think of right now. There are definitely favorite personalities and stuff that I've had on the show that have been meaningful to me too. But those are the ones that really stand out, just because again they were just really easy to they were just simple, really easy to do. And that's usually the sign that it was a good show.
Yeah, I always worry, obviously I've at some point I'm going to try to get Sean to come on, but I'm always worried that he's just going to go, no,
he still hasn't been on.
I want to get more popular, not less popular. I feel like that's my concern. No, he hasn't, he has not done my show yet.
Gosh, really? Oh man, you should be kicking his butt for that, man. I know Eric's been on. But...
Eric has been on. I try not to exploit that card though, like...
Yeah, I know what you mean, but it's just, sometimes you got to do it. You gotta take
Eventually.
advantage, of the contacts you have, man. So
Eventually, maybe after AHGL is finished for the season.
yeah, or line it up with your maybe line it up with your tournament,
I might,
you
I might.
something like that. But
So, is there somebody that like you really, really want to get on the show that you haven't been able to yet? Like, who's your big get at this point?
oh, that's a good question. Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned the big get, is because I do have that list. That list exists for sure, and the kind of group of people that help, or just are kind of my trusted circle. They know about this list, but I'll share some of them with you. Um, when it comes to pros, and they're kind of separated. When it comes to pros, I definitely would love to have Grubby on, and DeMuslim. Ben's been on my list forever now, and you can even ask him. I've been asking him for probably like a year now, so it's just it just takes time. A lot of especially Grubby too, right? He's just a really busy guy. So yeah, I'd love to have those two on from a pro standpoint. From a industry standpoint, it's crazy. I still haven't had Marcus on, DJ Weed on, and it has not been because he hasn't wanted to be on, or couldn't be on. It's just we just haven't had a chance to really schedule it. I'm going to have Scoots on for the first time this week, which is
Nice.
it's crazy too. And congrats by the way on 1 year of doing Let's Kung Fu.
Thanks.
We're gonna be doing 1 year of CTL, so it's kind of cool that we're pretty similar in the times that we started the shows. But yeah, so Marcus is definitely one of them. Who else? I feel like there was somebody. Oh, eventually Alex. I'd like to have Alex Garfield on the show. He's probably the only team owner that I've wanted to have on CTL that I haven't had yet, and it'll be great to have him on one of these days. But that's probably about it. Honestly, like I've had the fortune of having just these wonderful people, come and be part of my shows. And I feel really fortunate to have those people, kind of take some time out of their day and do that for me. Because again, most of it is just beneficial to my shows and to just whatever discussion that we're having. So it's really cool of them to come on and do that sort of thing.
So, obviously, Blizzard asked you to put together a video for
Yep.
the Heart of the Storm launch event.
Yeah, that's great. Mhm.
What was that experience like for you?
Oh, the Heart of the Oh man, that whole thing, dude, was amazing. I mean, I can't even I I can't even put it into words. Like, all I can say is like I wish everybody could have that experience. Um, because I just put it frank. Like, I forget what day in March it was, or maybe even in early February or late February. But out of the blue, I basically got an email from Sean, or the Day Nine team, just saying that you guys had, or TL and Day Nine TV or Blizzard or whatever had chosen to have Wednesday Night Sprites as part of the launch party, and I just thought that was amazing, just because at the time, Wednesday Night Sprites is probably my least viewed show. You know what I mean? Like it was just getting started, and so it was really surprising to me, and I know a big part of it had to do with uh, I think a big part. The thing is, I don't know exactly who who was instrumental in that, but I think it had something to do with the Day Nine team, and then also Trayson at Blizzard and the community team, because I've been working with them kind of ever since I started the show, and they've been really, really great about supporting the show. But got a letter about them taking that on, and they'd love to have me give them a video that they can edit and put in the stream. And so of course I did it instant, as fast as I could, just because I didn't want to have the opportunity kind of slip by. So I did that, and it was amazing. The next thing that I received was that they basically invited me to the launch party, and in Irvine, and so that was completely unexpected. It was like 2 weeks out, or maybe a week and a half, and so I ended up going out there, and man, it was so much fun. It was so great having all the community folks all in one place. Like we actually all had to sit there, and be on Blizzard campus like the entire day. And so even if we didn't want to, I mean, we had to meet each other, and of course we all had a good time together. I mean, everybody's so great in the community, so I got along with everybody. But it was amazing just to see everybody there. It's like seeing John from Carbot and Tempo. Tempo was my roommate, and Jen. Jen was there too, and Jingna. I mean, just everybody that you can think of was there. So that wasn't in Europe or in Korea for the launch parties. So it was really really great. Meeting everybody in person and getting some FaceTime with them, and just enjoying just this whole celebration of StarCraft. Like it's like when you really get a real sense of community. You know what I mean? Like day to day, when we're hopping on TL, and we're on Reddit, you don't really feel necessarily like this togetherness. It's something that you're just so used to, and like it is part of your life to like look at the news every day and respond to comments and be part of this kind of virtual community. But when you actually get to see people in person, that's when it just like kind of comes together, and it was really really great. And I'll reiterate it again. Like one of the coolest people I met at the launch was Kara, from Day9 TV. And for those of you who don't know Kara, it's Sean and Nick's mom, Day9 and Taylor's sister's mom. She is just the most amazing person, dude. You probably know that, but she's so great. So it was amazing getting a chance to meet her and everybody else. So yeah, that whole experience. I came home just smiling, and it's definitely an experience I'll remember for a long time or the rest of my life.
All the cool people were at the Irvine event.
That's right, man. Who cares about the France event? Who cares about Versailles and in Korea, man?
Oh man.
Well, I got a chance to meet. So what am I talking? I got a chance to meet you too. I mean, oh gosh, I mean that was awesome too.
I've got to be honest, it was really entertaining from like the perspective of me and the other AHGL guys that were there. Hanging out with, like you said, Tempo and like pro gamers and Sean and Husky, and it's like, yeah, we're with the AHGL, we're cool.
But but it was so, but you know what I mean though, right? It's just like this real togetherness type of thing, and I don't know, it was really cool. It's hard to describe. I mean, obviously, some folks get the same thing at MLGs in that regard, but with MLG, there's just so much going on. The tournament's going on, people are working, and maybe after hours or at the after party, you'll kind of get some of the big name folks all together. But this thing I just felt was a little bit more, I don't know, just
it was everybody just having fun.
Feeling. Yeah, it's more organic. I mean, it was. Yeah, I mean, there was no, it was just all about us, really celebrating more than anything else. You know what I mean? It wasn't like attending an event or anything, or like a competition or anything. It was just celebrating a milestone for a common interest we all have. And that's something really cool. That's something that only a launch can really have. Maybe BlizzCon, but a launch for sure.
So, with all of your crazy show experience that you now have, I feel like you've probably got more experience with shows than almost anyone.
Wee's got me, but yeah, and JP's got me too, but.
But if you could go back and change something or do something differently, what do you think it would be?
Gosh. I hate to sound arrogant or anything like that, but I don't know. I honestly I can't think of anything that's changed. I mean, I've been happy with how the show is, particularly Pro Corner at its early stages and CTL, just kind of rapidly growing. Just kind of how organically it's improved and progressed. Again, like I was saying before, I never planned on it being, making this crazy serious push to be a show host and that sort of thing. It was always meant to be this kind of just fun, fun project of mine that, whenever I had time, I could, maybe develop a logo and, maybe put together a TL page, you know what I mean? And kind of do those things one at a time. And I honestly, part of me just didn't want to do it all at once because it was just kind of fun, just kind of piecing this thing together, and trying out these new formats and doing that sort of thing. And I've been really happy about how it's gone, and I've had had a lot of fun just doing that and feeling very, um, just kind of, I guess, satisfying that kind of sense of fulfillment that I've been wanting to have in regards to esports. So, yeah, I hate to say it, but honestly, I can't think of something that I would change. I mean, there's obviously things I could probably do better or could have done better to be like a better host, like faster. But again, like I just chose to do other things that made it more fun for me, instead of like necessarily made the product as good as it could be faster. I guess that's probably the best way to put it. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's kind of a bad answer to that question. I hate to answer that, but I honestly cannot think of anything that I would change right now.
That's no, see, that's good. Like,
And it's kind of crazy to say that because I'm so critical, like normally, but it's just been, I don't know. I just I mean, one thing I changed maybe like if 5,000 viewers would just start watching my show right from the start, maybe and just have all those people see all the discussions that we've had throughout all the episodes. That would be something cool, but that's not anything I can do anything about. So
so is there a number 5 show coming up from you?
no, definitely not. I think four is the max for me. I can't do anything more. Uh, just I can't do anything more from the standpoint of shows because um, the even though some shows it doesn't really take long to plan them and organize them. Uh, the marketing of the shows takes a lot of time, and the scheduling of some of the shows. If you have guests, the scheduling is a very difficult thing to juggle. If you have a weekly show, I mean, you probably know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Um, but your show's not live, right? It's
Sometimes it's actually
okay.
usually
So it's
live. It
is
depends.
it live right now?
No, no, this time we're not live.
Okay. Yeah, I was like, shoot, man, I didn't realize that we were live. I would have tweeted it. I mean, if we were live, but yeah. So there's some shows it's a little time consuming to schedule, but all of the shows it's time consuming to market for sure. I mean, it's equal in that regard, and that's just that I just don't have enough time to do that. Could I be part of another show? Absolutely. But actually, being the producer and the marketer and the host and in the creative, basically the creative director of them, no way. I can't do a fifth one for sure.
So honestly, that's pretty much all the questions I've got for you. The
Okay,
big
cool.
kind of
Great.
final thing I like to do is just kind of open it up to you at the very end here. Like if you have anything you want to
Okay.
say, any shout outs you want to give, anything at all, you've got a couple of minutes where you can go crazy.
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to thank you, Damon, for having me on the show. I've watched quite a few of these episodes, and I really really like them. Like the Hydra episodes we were talking about earlier. But keep doing these shows. I'd love to be on it again, like sometime down the road. So this was a lot of fun. Um, Shout outs, just a big shout outs just to all the fans, all the longtime fans of my shows. I know who you are, so believe me, like I definitely value, big heart definitely out to you guys for supporting the show for so long, and even the new viewers and new supporters and fans. Um, the show is all about trying to I don't want to say educate people, but trying to bring some light to a lot of issues that don't get much light. So, it's not necessarily the most entertaining thing all the time. So the folks that the fact that you guys continually watch it, means a lot to me. And it means that you care. You care about this industry and you care about this community. So, big props to you guys, and I'll just continue doing these shows until I feel like I'm not achieving what I'm trying to achieve, with these shows. But other than that, just keep supporting esports, guys. Support the WCS, even though all this craziness has been going on with it, and just hopefully I'll see you on one of my shows, Climb the Ladder, Pro Corner Wins Night Sprites, or Unfiltered one of these nights. You can follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/ChanmanV. My stream is on twitch.tv/ChanmanV. You can follow me there. And my Facebook is facebook.com/ChanmanTV. And follow or join the Google Plus StarCraft discussion group that I'm kind of manning and modding for. We've got over 4,000 people in it now, and we're trying to build it up to be kind of the biggest discussion group on Google Plus for an esports game. So definitely do that when you get a chance. But yeah, that's going to be it, man. That's all I got.
Cool. Thanks a lot.
All right. Thanks, man. Peace.
All right, guys. That was Chris ChanmanV Chan. Huge thanks once again to him for coming on the show. It was pretty last minute. I asked him to do the show when we wound up filming that interview, seriously the same day, 12 hours later. It was awesome. Really appreciated it a lot. He was a great guest, and I'm thrilled that he was the guest for our 1-year anniversary episode. So, big thanks again. Nothing too exciting planned for next week yet. I don't have a guest lined up. Hopefully I'll get one, but if not, just be prepared for another wonderful StarCraft exercises video. If you haven't seen the last couple, I just did the Baneling and the Widow Mine in this last month. They were pretty awesome, so definitely make sure that you head over to my YouTube channel and check those out. If you have any comments, feedback, anything like that, my green screen here with all of its craziness is annoying you, tell me. I'm working on fixing all that good stuff. Shoot me an email at feedback@letskungfu.com. Thanks again. That's all we've got. So I will see you again next week. Bye, guys.